dies here. Because I'm gonna let you know, if you're in the water, you're gonna die. Illuminati dies here today, Mom.
It's a shark in the zoo. They say in Babylon, put the mark on them too. His whole body light so we can maul other guys. If my all-seeing eye going dark on me too. And them coffers for you. I'm ready so the devil who I call out first. I heard God call, he said behind the great wall. He I made a sword off to kick them all off earth. So my click don't play. Heaven gotta choose the wolf or the lamb. Get shot down by a pig in the street. Why do niggas gotta beef when it's a whole lot of ham? Alright, it's a hole in the dam. They can't flood Merc, so they shoot down gangs. Merc fly high, baby, Merc won't die. I don't see nobody here that can shoot down planes. It's like I shoot down veins. You're turning everybody in the hood to an addict. You look 6th grade to a bully with a habit. Cause I'm a switchblade or a fully automatic. Let's go. It's only 2 ways out. Don't ever try to sit and think I'm running cause you can't. It's only screaming die while you running out of tank. Or screaming try bitch while you running out the bank. Cause my click don't pay. I'm probably in your range getting brain with the semi. My hoe act right like she came with an Emmy. She want black pipe cause she came with the Remy. Ain't no pain even in me. You probably wouldn't know where I blow back cause it's 5 knockouts when it's 5 cops out. Or it's 5 shots out from the big bad wolf. Better bitch gon' say that my click don't play. I threw a clip in the cave, but I'm probably in your range getting brain with the semi. Better bitch gon' say that my click don't play. I threw a clip in the cave, but I'm probably in your range getting brain with the semi. Better bitch gon' say this is the only way I know to handle this. A whole lot of guns and a whole lot of cannabis.
Shots fired at Screw 2, but shots out to you carbon babies. This is your melanated warrior, Heru Heinous, and this is another installment of Facts Over Feelings. Leave your feelings at the door so we can get to the facts, because the facts are the only things that matter. Let me make sure, man, because for some odd reason, seemed like the channel that, yeah, okay. Alright, let me make sure we got, alright, we got people up in here. Yeah, we about to get started, because it's about to go down. It's about to go down up in here. Alright, let me close this out real quick. We about to get started, because it's about to go down. It's about to go down up in here. Alright, yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to talk about, because your boy been, they say your boy been on a hiatus, right, for too long. I had some people messaging me, and they was like, where he been at? What he been doing? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, of course, you know, I've been busy. Can y'all hear me all right? You know, put some ones down there to make sure that y'all can hear me all right. I want to make sure that the volume is good. What is this? Alright, that's what's up. That's what's up. Alright, yeah, we can get into it. Yeah, because we got a lot to talk about, a lot to go over. We're going to talk about everything because we tired of the news that we've been seeing. And, you know, like I was telling somebody, I was like, man, you know, it's been real difficult the last couple of months because I knew if I came back, I couldn't do no regular FOF squad stuff. So basically, we're revamping the channel. We're going to go over all of those things that, you know, you guys have, you know, the videos that you love. We're going to revamp them. We're going to do them in this format. So I think that you guys are going to appreciate that because, you know, it's gonna be a lot more. It's gonna be a lot more intimate in terms of the details and stuff, and then obviously the resources that we're gonna be able to pull up. They're gonna be readily available, and you guys can be able to look at that instead of me holding up the phone and all that good stuff. You know, we about to get it cracking, right? Because the FOF squad deserves this, right? And for anybody who's new to the channel and you coming in, if you want a place of refuge where you can come somewhere and you get tired of the bickering, the divisive shit, you get tired of people who only tell you news that, you know, when it happens and shit. Like we're trying to be proactive here. We need to have, you know, like they talk about, insight is better than eyesight. And so, you know, and now we're not rushing. We got time. It's kind of like that fam used to tell me, an older guy used to say, he said, man, he said, beware of a man who, when him and his watch had the same things in common. And I was like, what's that mean? He was like, nigga, that mean we got time today. So without any further ado, we got time today. We're going to take a look at some videos. Obviously, we're going to look at a couple articles. We're going to discuss some of these events because our job our responsibility here at the FOF Squad, as you already know, is to look at the esoteric side of things too as well. And we have to hold these Blancos accountable. I say this all the time. I mean, you know, I harp on this because it's true. Because we get tired of individuals who we, you know, for the most part, what do? I like to call it mayonnaise. I got a new term for their language, y'all. It's called mayonnaise. If I don't know if y'all know what that is, but mayonnaise is 1 gallon of mayonnaise. It is the whole entire English language, 3 cups of gaslighting, and 2 teaspoons of bullshit. That's mayonnaise. You know what I'm saying? And these mayonnaise, and that's what they be speaking. They be speaking mayonnaise. So we about to get into it because we got a couple videos that we got to show y'all, just so that we can watch how these Blancos spit mayonnaise all the time, right? You know, we got to be able to shift through all of that. So without any further ado, let's get let's get off into one of the videos that I wanted to show you guys to start off with. So what I'm finna do is finna pull up my screen, and we just, like I said, the main responsibility of this channel, you know, we do a little bit of recapping. You already know how that goes. We do a little bit of recapping. Hold on for 1 second. For some odd reason, it seemed like the chat. All right, I don't know why it seemed like it stopped. So we're gonna do a little bit of recapping for a second. Hold on 1 second. A little bit of recapping. Let's see. Give me 1 second as I pull this up, y'all. I see 999 said, "Will I still be using Clubhouse?" Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna end up doing something in the near future and stuff. I'm just, I just haven't gotten around to it. But yeah, we will. We're gonna be, like I said, we're gonna be on all sources for it. We're gonna be kicking tail. Trust me, we're gonna be kicking ass, taking names later because we a problem. We about to show these people how much of a problem we really actually are. So, yeah, let's put this. Let's hold on for 1 second. Let me. It's not why this. Alright. Hold on. Be patient, you guys. Give me 1 second. So I don't know what the. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start this off at the 8-minute mark. So I'm gonna put this at the 8-minute mark. Hold on, let me cue it right quick. Trash. I always gotta promote trash on their damn channels. I always gotta promote trash.
Visible grease behind. Only Dawn Platinum removes 99% of grease.
Museum in Chicago, City College of San Francisco.
All right.
Not only be carved, but move.
So I'm gonna share my screen, and we're gonna take a look at what this Blanco's talking about. We about to see the mayonnaise get to talking real slick right here. So, and I'm gonna tie all this stuff together. You know how we do? We like to, give you a lot of information, but we always say this on the FOF Squad, and we're adamant about this. You have people who have those analytical skills. They may be keen enough to see the dots, but they're not too experienced in order to put them together. So we're gonna we're gonna give you a little bit of what's going on from all of these different regions, and we're gonna tie it all together, and we're gonna show you how this all makes sense. So just watch how this goes. All right, share my screen right quick. So before I play this video, ScrewTube, I want to preface it by 1976 Copyright Act, Section 107, allowances made for fair use for the purposes of commentary, criticism, news reporting, education, research, but overall here at the FOF Squad, waking your ass up. All right, let's go.
Moved huge distances. Remember, there are no draft animals in Mesoamerica. You can't just strap some oxen and mules to those boulders and tell them to move. They could only be moved by human labor. The organization and effort to move these from quarries to the cities and ceremonial centers must have been enormous.
Now, pause for 1 second. Now, this is the thing that I was discussing with a friend of mine too, and I found this to be so outrageous. Now, when you look at this photo, now, because what he's going to insinuate is that these cultures had, Africans, Central American, this was a culture in and of itself, this Mesoamerican culture. We as black people had no influence on these individuals. Now, what I find remarkable is this. I find this very remarkable. I find the fact that if I was to sit back and just draw this picture, right here, and it wasn't even related to the so-called quote-unquote Olmec civilization, and you was to draw a wide nose and big lips, Blanco's, that's a Negro. That's a Negro. But all of a sudden, when you see this now, when you're looking at the evidence that they left, you can't tell what this is. That's dumbfounding me. But let them continue though. Let the mayonnaise continue to keep talking for a second.
They could have been dragged overland or perhaps transported on balsa rafts via the local rivers, but no one is certain. But what are these sculptures exactly? Most scholars agree that these heads represent Olmec rulers, as each one is distinct and no two portray the same person. Each head has a helmet or headgear. The heads are very recognizable for their realism and their broad facial features, like their flat noses and full lips. These striking features have actually caused some to theorize that the heads are sculptures of Africans, but these theories are rejected by Mesoamerican scholars, and I'll have more to say about these views later.
Right, so he said these theories are rejected by Mesoamerican scholars. We already know what he's talking about. We ain't got time for all of that because that's that mayonnaise, right? They never want to give us our props. Now, so the point being is that, matter of fact, let's go back for just 1 second. Let's go back for 1 second. All right. Let's go back for 1 second. When you take a look at these heads and stuff, one of the things that you got to realize, and this is what's extremely impressive. These heads are made out of what's called basalt, B-A-S-A-L-T, basalt. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this is that when it comes to these heads, they said they range in from 5 feet to 8 feet tall, right? 5 feet to 8 feet tall. And what's impressive about it is that this basalt, according to individuals who study a science called paleomagnetism. Paleomagnetism is a study of magnets within rocks. Okay, now these heads, like I said, were somewhere between 5 feet to 8 feet tall, weighing about almost 50,000 pounds. All right. Now the basalt, like we said, has it's magnetic, especially when it cools. So we have to understand that too. The reason why they're so adamant about making sure that they distance us from this grand civilization is because also you would have to admit that our people would have had some knowledge of electromagnetism. This is one of the reasons, or this is one of the methods that they use in order to transport these huge statues. Also, what it does is it compromises this idea of linear progression in terms of history. Like the Blanco came up with all of these things themselves, right? Like we went from walking to horses to cars to spaceships and all of that different stuff. No, it suggests that if these people were knowledgeable about these things way before, then that means that we're working backwards, right? And also important, they said that the Olmec civilization ended at around 350 BC. Notice what BC means. BC, for the most part, we know still meant before Christ. Now, this is important because we a lot of times don't put that together. Think about the dots that you have to put together. This is the sort of technology that our people were using before Christ was even on this earth, or the so-called Christ. Right? We're not here to dispute if you believe in Christ and all of that different stuff, more power to you. But what we're saying is this phenomenal energy, this godlike energy that we possess was in full effect way before there was even an individual that you knew as Christ. All right? That's what we want to do there. All right? We want to get you guys familiar with the understanding of this, man. Because this is essential. This stuff right here, this is about to lay the groundwork. Now what we're about to do, and watch how I show you, because what do we do all the time? We always say, we about to go a little left, and you're going to be like, man, What does that have to do with what you were just talking about? I'm glad you asked, but you have to be patient. Just walk with me for a second. We're about to get it in. Watch how we make all of this tie together. Now we're about to show you another video right quick. We're about to show you another video. Let me cue it. Let me get this ready. Show you exactly what I'm talking about. Hold on 1 second. All right. Now, before I show this video, obviously I want to preface it again by 1976 Copyright Act, Section 107. Allowance is made for fair use for the purposes of commentary, criticism, news reporting, education, research, but overall here at the FOF Squad, waking your ass up. All right. So we're just gonna let, and you know they so deep on these damn ads, man. I can't stand this shit. Shut up.
FAA started warning pilots.
All right. So we got this cued. Let's get to it.
To stay away from a certain section of airspace over Alaska. The U.S. government was experimenting with a new breed of high-altitude electronic technology. It was significantly altering the Alaskan airspace. The experiments continue to this day, and critics are warning that this project could have global effects that will destroy our planet. In Alaska, the rugged, pristine wilderness is timeless, most of it remaining just as it has for thousands of years. In the midst of all this natural beauty, just outside the small town of Kakuna, stands an enormous and seemingly harmless antenna farm. It is a $100 million Air Force project known as HAARP, and critics of the soon-to-be completed facility charge it just may turn out to be the ultimate doomsday machine.
It's got all the marks of Dr. Strangelove on it.
HAARP is an acronym for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. According to Program Manager John Escher, HAARP is a research facility designed to study the ionosphere.
All the military have communications, surveillance, navigation systems whose paths either traverse the ionosphere or reflect from it. And so we need to be very careful about what we know about it and how we study it. What we're interested in is what is the effect of a large input of energy on the ionosphere.
The ionosphere is the outermost layer of the Earth's atmosphere. It is part of an electromagnetic field that keeps out harmful solar and cosmic radiation. One visible effect of the sun's rays hitting the ionosphere is the aurora borealis, known as the northern lights. The ionosphere also plays a vital role in worldwide radio communication.
The first transmission of radio waves across the ocean were quite a surprise when it was first done. People thought there'd be no chance to transmit signals across the ocean by wireless. And in fact, what the ionosphere does is act like a mirror. And so we transmit a signal and it bounces off the ionosphere and then it bounces off the Earth.
When HAARP is fully operational, it will transmit extremely powerful blasts of high-frequency radio waves directly up into the atmosphere, superheating the electrons that make up the ionosphere. This will cause them to disperse, effectively punching a hole in the ionosphere.
But after you turn the instrument off, this thing kind of moves around and it gets replenished. And within a few minutes, it's back to where you can't even detect that there's a hole anymore.
The Air Force says that manipulating the ionosphere and studying the effect will allow them to improve the efficiency of communications, navigation, and surveillance systems. But researchers outside the military see HAARP as a high-tech weapon with global implications.
The way I see HAARP as it is right now, it is a premier, top-notch, high-energy radio physics experiment and has definite military applications.
Journalist Mark Farmer.
Okay, so the point being is that, remember what we talked about when we were saying that, when we were talking about the ionosphere, an atmosphere of electrically charged particles, okay? How they use it for a basis of communication, especially radio waves. And how these radio and how this technology allows them now to peer deep into the earth. okay, and with, you know, to obviously procure minerals and things of that nature. But also there's other esoteric meanings behind this. We're gonna get into this. Watch how we build this up. It's gonna be a fascinating presentation. I need you guys to stick with me, but we got to give you all of the dots, right? And then obviously what we do is we put all of these things together. So the fact of the matter is like he you know, there's no doubt that a lot of this technology will obviously have military applications. We know this without a shadow of a doubt because this is the nature of the so-called European. They're never going to create anything that's not eventually going to be seen or going to be used as a weapon. That's just how they get down. That's one thing that you have to understand. So with that being said, let's go right back to, you know, we're gonna show you, we're gonna you know, I'm going to pull up something right quick. And I don't know if you guys know this, but like Ray Hagen said, the great Ray Hagen said, he said, if I'm sitting up here telling you something that you know, I'm not doing my job. I'm not doing my job. So right now what I'm finna do is we're basically going to look at a map of the Caribbean right quick. We're gonna look at a map of the Caribbean.
Potential impact.
1 second, guys. All right. All right. We're going to use this one. I'm going to choose this one. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen once again and I'm gonna show you guys something. Okay. Now, what we're looking at is the Caribbean Sea. Now, if you notice, they call this the greater, and well, this essentially, this whole area is called the West Indies. All right, it's called the West Indies. And the West Indies includes what's called the Greater Antilles and the Lesser Antilles. Okay, the Greater Antilles being Cuba, obviously Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and then you got the Lesser Antilles, you know, obviously the Virgin Islands, Grenada, Tobago, Trinidad, etc. That's the Lesser Antilles. Now, before the Europeans came into contact with this land, they were saying that it was Antilles. Antilles means mythical lands. Now, right along this region right here, from the, you know, you see off of Florida, all up in this region, that's what they typically refer to as the Bermuda Triangle. Now, on the other side of this area, you have something that we're going to get into in about a few minutes. It's called the Ross wave sounds. Like they can actually hear this from space. Okay? Now, with Haiti, we already told you, we've done a segment. We had put forth a segment, put a segment together where we were talking about, earthquakes actually create gold instantaneously. Earthquakes actually create gold and other minerals instantaneously. You have to understand too that is a mountainous region in the shape of a crescent moon. This is what's deep about this region too as well. Now, I don't know if I should play it, but I don't think we have to play it. But if you go on Democracy Now, they have a video on there where it was talking about how, remember, when they came to Haiti, this isn't the first time. When they went to Haiti, they came there between 2004 and 2017. So it was like 13 years. And so this is not the first time that they sent UN troops to go into Haiti, right? And when they went into Haiti, do you know that while they were there, and I'm going to show you, watch how I put all this together. Do you know while they were there, the human rights violations that occurred was astronomical. The soldiers were actually shitting in the water and gave the population cholera. It was like 10 to 15,000 Haitians that actually died from cholera. Now, why is all of these things important? Because, like you remember, Haiti situates and stands on not just great, minerals and stuff like that, like iridium, gold, and and all the other precious metals and stuff like that. They stand on an area that is celestial ground. Now, one of the things that is extremely important, which we have to realize, especially when we're talking about how these Blancos communicate, they only communicate through signs and symbols. I was just discussing this with a friend of mine, and I was telling him, I said how when you think about it, when you look at it, the symbol that they used to communicate to us that Haiti was going to be a ground zero type of situation was who they made as the press secretary. She's from Haiti. Okay? They communicate symbolically. Now, one of the things that's extremely important, before we go off into that, let me show you exactly what I'm talking about too. Let me pull up the article. because then we're gonna tie it all in. Because you have to know that this is a connection to the Olmecs. This is how I'm gonna tie it in, because I ain't gonna leave you too much in suspense about what we got going on here. This is the connection that they have to the Olmecs, or what they call the Olmecs. Because you had the guy in the first video that I showed, he said, oh well, yeah, the Olmecs, that wasn't even their name, that was the name that the European philosophers gave them. But yet you're gonna trust the European philosophers to give them that name, but then you're going to say, yeah, I don't really trust that name because the Europeans gave it to them. That's not what they called themselves. But then you're going to trust them, at the same time to say, oh, well, they have no connection to black people though, whatsoever. It just shows you this is mayonnaise being spoken at its finest. But let's pull up this article right quick. I'm finna show y'all this article. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. All right. All right. All right, so I'm going to share my screen right quick, and we're just going to read a little bit of this. We're going to read just a little bit of this. Okay, obviously you see this is a Science Explorer. This is a Science Explorer. It says the Caribbean sea whistles so loud it can be heard from space. It's called a Rossby whistle. You may think you are a good whistler, but it likely doesn't compare to the whistling abilities of the Caribbean Sea. A new study published in the journal Geophysical Research Letters and conducted by ocean scientists at the University of Liverpool has shown that the Caribbean Sea, which is a basin in the Gulf of Mexico, can whistle so loudly that it can be heard from space. The phenomenon, dubbed a Rossby whistle, happens when a Rossby oceanic wave, a large wave that slowly travels west in the ocean between the warm upper layer and the cold deeper part of the ocean, interacts with the sea floor. The interaction causes the wave to die out at the western boundary of the basin and reappear back on the eastern side, creating what has been nicknamed a Rossby wormhole. Now, this is deep. Okay, let me stop. As a result, water moves in and out of the basin every 120 days. This change in the amount of water in the basin is enough to oscillate Earth's gravity field, creating a whistle that can be measured by satellites. Okay? So, what I want you guys to understand is this, is that when you're dealing with water or when you're dealing with plasma, because remember, like we told you, plasma, water's fourth state, or the fourth state of matter, is plasma. They teach you 3 in school: solid, liquid, gas. The fourth state of matter is plasma. Okay, that's water. So this, when you listen to when the Blanco talks about how the Earth was created, he talks about plasma. When you're talking about the ionosphere, you're talking about plasma. When you're talking about what's inside your body, you're talking about plasma. Plasma is this electrical fluid, right, that also can be weaponized, as you see. So what we're saying is that you have to understand that these individuals that live in this region are in a very strategic point of the so-called globe, to where they're initiating the war against beings who they're about to tell you about to, they're about to blow the door off of, right? And this is going to be a starting point for that. And I'm going to show you exactly how this history came about. A lot of you are familiar, or claim you are familiar, right, with the history of Haiti. And so when it came to Haiti, we seen that Haiti was established, supposedly was the first free state of, well, it was a colony at first, but it was one of the regions that proclaimed its freedom after the so-called United States. We know it wasn't the United States then, right? But Toussaint Louverture started it, and then he was sent to France and was killed in a French prison. Well, he died in a French prison before the major battle took off, in which Haiti liberated itself at around 1804. Now, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, he was the one who, who was seen as the founder of Haiti. Unfortunately for him, there was a coup. And in that coup, it was two individuals that took his who took his position. You had Henry Christophe, right? And in the north, Henry Christophe has set up a monarchy. He called himself King Henry. All right? And then at the bottom, you had Alexander I think Panay. And the Alexander, he had a republic. Alexandre, I believe they called him. He had a republic. Now, this is what's interesting. This coup was not something that was just manufactured by Henry. He actually had the backing of European powers. All right, so that they can garner control. And I'm going to show you why all this is important. It seems like we're a little bit all over the place, but watch how we make this all, all go full circle. So, what he did was when he established it, he built, a grand castle. He modeled his empire after the European powers. He had dukes and barons and counts and all of this other bullshit. He would give homage to King George III and even President James Madison at the same, at the time, who was president of the so-called colonies here, in the United States. And so what you have to realize is that every time that there was an effort to liberate that energy over there, because they knew exactly what that energy was holding. You have a lot of people who have ancient knowledge over there from that was passed down by our people through the Olmec civilization. That region has to be controlled by any means necessary. That's one thing that you have to understand. So you see that ripple effect being shown in the political systems that exist within Haiti and all of these other regions where you see people of our skin tone to this day. They will never cease, especially in those locations that carry energy that can be formulated into weapons that the Blanco uses every time he gets a hold of it. All right? That's what you need to know. That's what you need to know. All right? So what we're going to do is, we're going to show you, we're going to keep going. Show you this video. So look at my notes. All right. Give me 1 second. Yeah, the eternally yours forever has been a while. Good to see you. Good to see you too. Yeah, salute to the FOF squad, man, because my latest videos, like I said, we took them down because we're basically going to be going over all of those things. We're going to be going over all those points because there's some new things. It's just, and I know you guys love that information and stuff, but trust me, we're not going to try to do anything. What we're going to do is we're going to put an effort forth to make sure that we do at least 3 lives a week. Okay, and we got some great stuff coming. We, if a lot of you guys haven't had the opportunity to see the intro and the outro, we're gonna be adding something to that too as well. That's going to be the type of animation that we use for the new Carbon Babies series. So that's going to be absolutely phenomenal and stuff. So we got a lot of stuff planned for you guys for the FOF squad, right? We're gonna start up the book club, but we're also gonna have on Saturdays, we're going to be doing spoken words. We're going to have some poets come through and all that different stuff. And then we actually got some exciting guests to come through to the platform. So, your boy was doing this. I just didn't disappear. So don't get it twisted like I just ran off. But I knew that when I came back, the FOF squad had to be, you guys had to get something special. All right. This is just kind of, this is what we're about to do because we got to go at their head. We're not taking no prisoners this time around. So, in recap, what we were saying was that the Olmec civilization in this mountainous region, they had procured, the knowledge to manipulate matter in the form of using what we typically refer to as electromagnetism. This energy was passed down to individuals who we know as the ones who existed in this region, which is our people. We can't get caught up with the idea because the Blanco is telling half-truths. We know that's a big part of Mayonnaise, right? When you speak in Mayonnaise. Of course, the Africans had no influence on the Haitians, on the Mesoamerican culture. Of course, other cultures didn't have because that wasn't what they were called. We were not called Africans. We were not called, our people who are, in those regions and on the islands, they're not called Filipinos. Philippines is named after King Philip. All right, we shouldn't be called Americans. I was named after Amerigo Vespucci. So, of course, we couldn't be who they claimed us to be because we know that that's not how we identified ourselves. All right, this is one thing that we have to understand. This is how deep this war is, and so we're starting to see, as you see these progressions take place, that Mother Earth is ramping up the energy through what we typically refer to as the ionosphere. All right, and this is one of the reasons why we have to be able to match her intensity by any means necessary. We have to be able to match, and how do we do that? Listen. I'm gonna tell you how. I'm gonna tell you how you do that. Now we were just talking. Watch how we get on point. I'm finna show you guys something else right quick. I'm finna show you how deep this stuff goes, man. Finna show you how deep this stuff goes. Give me 1 second. Second. These articles, they should have been saved, but I guess they blah 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 blah. Let's see, where are you at? Where are you at? Because we're going to show you exactly how powerful this stuff is. Remember, because I showed a video one time where, this guy, he was just talking about how, remember I gave you this line where they were saying, which Ray Hagans had popularized. He said that, they're saying different things to different people about the same thing. And this one guy was like, oh, no, the plasma's different. Of course, the plasma's going to take different forms. But one thing that we got to understand that's essential is that it still operates on, in the same way. Right, and we're going to show you how profound this stuff really is. So let me gather this right quick. It was supposed to just pop up. I thought, it was supposed to be bookmarked. So I can't believe that didn't happen. But as always, little things here and there. I ain't worried about it. I ain't worried about it. All right, we found it. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Hold on a second. All right, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, this is from the physics.org, okay, September 11, 2017. The turbulent healing powers of plasma. All right. It says researchers are starting to discover the curing powers of plasma, bringing the ion-based form of matter into medical realms. A kind of plasma called non-equilibrium atmospheric pressure plasma can help heal wounds, destroy cancer cells, and kill harmful bacteria. Okay? The jets of plasma that doctors might use, however, often become turbulent with the direction and velocity changing dramatically. Now, researchers have found this turbulence likely emerges from the heat-induced sound waves generated at the plasma electrodes. Now, this is what's so important. It's like this: when the plasma heats up, it's producing a sound or a vibration, right, that becomes hard to control. Now, it says this new insight is critical for more consistent and effective medical therapies. Now that we understand where the induced turbulence in atmospheric pressure plasma jets is coming from, it may be possible to better control it, said Amanda Lights of the University of Michigan, who is an author of a new report discussing these results. Based on computer simulations appearing as the cover article this week in the journal Applied Physics Letters. A plasma is an ionized gas consisting of the positively charged ions and free-flowing electrons. They tend to be extremely hot, like those found in fusion devices. Non-equilibrium atmospheric pressure plasma jets, however, are cool to the touch. So, And then it goes on to talk about how in the typical medical device, atmospheric pressure plasma is made from a noble gas such as helium. An electric field ionizes the helium by removing an electron from each atom, creating a plasma that not only at atmospheric pressure, but is also near room temperature. Now, so this is why I tell everybody all the time, this is the most important thing about this, is that we cannot continue to keep having them tell us different things about the same thing. Remember we said about cerebral spinal fluid. We talked about your blood. Now, 98% of your blood and 96 or 7% of your cerebral spinal fluid is made up of water. Water is a form, it takes on different forms and it turns itself into plasma. It turns itself into cerebral spinal fluid. So what we have to ensure is that we take the opportunity. Now, listen critically when I say this, brothers and sisters, because this is how you're going to be able to go to war. We're talking about real tangible steps into taking yourself to the next level. Not none of this shit that you're talking about, oh, you get these stones and these crystals and, you do this and you pray to the east and you bow down. No, we're not talking about that shit. Practical things, because Mother Nature made this extremely easy. And so when we realize the importance of the water that we take in, how we can readily turn itself to the plasma that we need in order to transform ourselves, we have to first ensure that the water that we take in is pure water. What am I saying by what do I mean by that? Well, first, when I realized, and I got a home, I don't know, shouts out to Obi if you're in the chat, but me and Obi talk about this all the time, and we talk about how when we first made the changes to our water intake, not just any type of regular water, brothers and sisters, I went and bought a machine. It's called Suicium, but it does reverse osmosis, but it also has what's called a remineralization filter in there, so it puts back in the minerals inside of the water. But there is a term called TDS, or total dissolved solids. It measures how many contaminants are actually in your water. And I would go to like Myers and which is like a large chain store here up in in Michigan and shit. You go there, you go to those water reverse osmosis machine, you fill up your gallon jugs or you fill up your 5-gallon jugs, however big your jug is, and then you think you actually drinking good water. You're not. You test that water. TDS measures itself from 3 to 9. The TDS count from 3 to 9 is considered drinkable water. Anything past 150, the water is not even drinkable. Now, on average, that water that you're getting from the stores, even the reverse osmosis water, has about 150 to 200 parts in terms of TDS, or total dissolved solids. It's not even drinkable water. It's not even usable water. Your body can't take that water and transform it to that highly electrical energy, that kundalini energy that you need in order to transform yourself. So we have to start at the fundamental level, brothers and sisters, because this is where I'm going back with this. Water is a weapon. They will weaponize it. We can weaponize it. We're the ones that use it the best. All right? And while we sit back and we allow ourselves to degrade our bodies because of what we take in, primarily our water, what happens is that they have to be proficient in using it externally, right? They have to create systems and they have to create machines and stuff to use the water and take advantage of the wormholes and the other type of weapons that exist from actually learning about plasma. All right, we told you that this is a big part of their communication systems, especially radio communications, submarines and stuff. Your cell phone communication, radio communications. This is all essential with them manipulating the ionosphere. So what they found out was a key place of communication was around these islands. Specifically Haiti, or specifically the Antilles, the Greater and the Lesser Antilles. This is why these wars are going down. It's deeper than just what you see on the surface level. Now, like I said, what's so incredulous about what we see is just the same thing that they do in the media in terms of, adulterating the image of our people. Oh, it's ran by gangs and all of that. Like I said, I encourage you. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to do it. Because you guys are going to have to see it. I hope YouTube don't take this video down because I'm about to show this. But I think that you guys need to see this. I think that it is I think it's beyond necessary for you to see this. Because you guys have to understand what's going on over there. All right? And you just shouldn't hear it from my mouth. That's not what we do here at the FOF Squad. We got to provide the resources and stuff. All right? So let's... what we're going to do here... Let's go back. I'll go back. gonna go back. Now, I want to preface this video by 1976 Copyright Act, Section 107, allowances made for fair use for the purposes of commentary, criticism, news reporting, scholarship, education, research, but overall here at the FOF Squad, waking your ass up. All right, so here we go, y'all.
Led multinational armed force to Haiti as the island nation combats worsening gang violence. The intervention, which came at the repeated request of Haiti's unelected Prime Minister, Ariel Henry, marks the first deployment of international security forces to Haiti in nearly 20 years. The proposal received 13 votes in favor, with Russia and China abstaining. The resolution was drafted by the United States and Ecuador, allowing foreign troops to remain in Haiti for 1 year with a review after 9 months. The Biden administration pledged at least $100 million to fund the operation. This is the U.S. Deputy Ambassador to the United Nations, Jeffrey De Laurentiis.
This mission comes at the request of the Haitian government and Haitian civil society to address the insecurity and dire humanitarian crisis the country has faced for far too long. The deployment of this mission will help to support Haiti's critical near-term needs and to foster the security conditions necessary for the country to advance long-term.
All right, so he mayonnaise. He's speaking mayonnaise. We finna go right to the sister. Let her talk.
International coordinator for community movement builders and the co-host of the podcast Haiti, Our Revolution Continues. Mamira Prosper, let's begin with you. Can you respond to the UN Security Council voting to send an armed intervention force to Haiti?
Yes, thank you, Amy. As you said in your introduction, this is not the first time that the Security Council has voted to send what Haitians are calling, right, an occupation force into Haiti, a multinational one at that. In 2004, as you mentioned, after the coup, as you said, the U.S.-backed coup against democratically elected Jean-Bertrand Aristide, the president, the Security Council voted for the United Nations to send in troops that were led at that moment by the Brazilian army, about 5,000 troops. And you already started listing the record of this mission that took place between 2004 and 2017. So we're talking about 13 years of history here and of human rights violations. When the UN troops came in, the first thing they did was attack supporters of the president that had just experienced a coup. They followed up over the 13 years with several lynchings of different people in the population throughout the country. As you mentioned, there were too many cases of rape of women and also children, including boys and girls. And there are still feminist groups in Haiti, different social movement organizations, different members of civil society attempting to bring these people to justice. They fathered too many children and left behind. And as we know, UN troops have immunity, so they have not been able to be brought to justice for their acts against Haitian population. As you mentioned also, troops were increased in 2010 after the earthquake, and that ended up leading to a cholera outbreak. And I just want to say specifically, because troops defecated in clean water sources that Haitians were using to do a number of things, including drink and to cook with, right? So this is a complete disregard for Haitian dignity, and this led to...
So yeah, we ain't got to hear no more. We know what's going on. We see... And see, that's what I'm talking about. They going over there. We already know why they're going over there. You see what I'm saying? And like I'm telling you guys, and that's what's so profound about all of this. What do you expect the beast to do? Now, before I go, I think I seen someone in the comments ask about the water. If you want to, I'm going to spell it out for you because it is, everything's made in China right now. So we can really do about that. But it's spelled... Hold on, let me minimize this right quick. This is how you spell it. SUIYSUIM. countertop reverse, so it's a sui suum countertop reverse osmosis system. You know, because one of the things people don't realize, like when we go to those stores and shit, man, you know, and I'm gonna get back to what we do. This is a sidebar. When we go to those stores and we get water, and you get what's called a reverse, you know, the reverse osmosis, and you know, you thinking you drinking really good water, you're not. It's still acidic, and then it, you know, it's not live water. So what happens is reverse osmosis takes out all the minerals of your water. So this system, which you can get on Amazon, and I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, is well worth the investment. I think it was about $300 when I paid for it. But one, I mean, you know, this is the first time in your life, if you've not been somewhere with an all-natural spring, this is the first time in your life, think about this, where you will actually have drunk pure water. That water that your body can use. Okay, water that your body can use. And so it has a remineralization filter. So after it cleans the water, it puts the minerals back in the water. I don't work for this company, but I do work for you guys. You got to understand that if you're taking care, if you're 70% water, but mind you, you're only as much water as you drink. If you're 70% water, if you take care of water, you take care of about 70% of your problems in terms of health is concerned. The body then begins to be able to operate at the highest level imaginable, and then this is what makes it possible to attain the highest level of enlightenment, because you have to use plasma to get there. That's what you need to know. All right, Sweet B said, can you spell it again? It's all right. Let me go back to it. Let me go back to it. Yeah, because we're about to, for people who miss out on this, y'all, I'm telling y'all, you about to miss out on some. Let's get to it. But it's S as in Sam, U as in understand, I as in indigo, Y as in you, S again as in Sam, U as in understand, I as in indigo, M as in man. So sui suim, countertop reverse osmosis system, self-flushing with pure water, 6-stage water filtration system. All right, so it sends it through 6 stages. All right, and then obviously it has a remineralization filter too as well, so it puts the minerals back in there. And then also, as you can see, I like to keep my hydrogen water bottle on me too as well. And this basically then once I get the pure water, I actually then, as you see that it basically, separates the hydrogen from the oxygen in this water. Because when you do that, the hydrogen then acts as like a powerful antioxidant, and then it fights the free radicals in your body. Because what happens is through oxidation of these chemicals and stuff, they just run rampant. And we're talking about a lot of very powerful chemicals, not just oxygen. A lot of the things that we come into contact with, from chlorine to fluorine, when these things break down in your body, you have to have something. You have to have the water to take these out of your body. Because you're going to incur cellular damage, so-called DNA damage. And then to the most part, because we were constantly in this cycle of dehydration, the damage becomes irreparable. And there's a very important book that you guys need to get. And I told you guys about this book. It's called You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty by Dr. Batminajad. You're not sick, you're thirsty. And he tells you about these different levels of dehydration and how your body tries to put forth a concerted effort to signal to you that it needs this water to be able to convert it to plasma, to do its job. Okay? That's what's extremely important. But as you see, notice they know that we're water beings. So this is the point that I'm trying to make. They know that these people, now this is what's deep. Follow me on this. They know that us as a people have the ability to change. Now, if you think about this, how does a child go from a boy go from a man, or a girl go to a woman? Through puberty. You can't control when puberty kicks in. When that Kundalini energy kicks in, it kicks in. It kicks in. This is the same energy that will kick in when you have the right water. As long as you'll find yourself, connecting with information that gets you to a higher level. And then you're like, man, where is this all coming from? Your higher self is kicking in, but they know the best way to keep you down, because Mother Earth has to work through you. The best way to keep you stagnant, the best way to suppress that energy, the best way to nullify that energy is to attack the water. Why do you think that she noticed that? They attack the water. You come up here in Michigan, Benton Harbor, Flint, they attack the water. Mississippi, they attack the water. Because they know that this is how, the water, that how our body transforms it, bar none, nobody can match it. And these levels will just take place with or without you being ready for them. You see, that's always kind of like the motif in a lot of the superhero movies. When they come upon these superpowers, they act like they wasn't ready for it. It just came. It's like puberty, but it's another form. You have to understand that if that energy had took you from a boy to a man or a girl to a woman, you have to understand that it should not be seen in a one-dimensional aspect just for fucking and reproducing. It is the very energy that not only got you here, but transforms you. I am killing you niggas. All right? So this is what will be the constant barrage of the attack. If my boy Jacob is obviously in the chat too, he'll tell you. Locally we get involved in a lot of things. I mean, he had went to a meeting recently. There's a company here called Graphic Packaging. They throwing all sorts of shit into the water in the air, right? Right on the black side of town on the north side here in the zoo. You see what I'm saying? And what they're doing is they're going to raise the levels because they can't meet they keep going past the levels, with their emissions and stuff. So they're like, why don't we just raise it? I think we're gonna raise it. Then they throwing off these, they doing these, playing these games where they act like, oh, your opinion counts. We're gonna put some forums together, some conferences to see how people think about things and blah blah blah. They don't give a fuck. Because if they did, there wouldn't be a conflict of interest that arises where the state had actually gave them $60 million for corporate expansion. That's what they wouldn't do. You see what I'm saying? So all you doing is pacifying the people. So like I said, man, it's, to me, that's what's so important for us to understand is that they have to attack the water. They have to attack it because it's a living entity. That's one thing that you have to understand. And it animates itself through you. That's what you have to remember. You dealing with something called H2O. But just because the Blanco got the recipe don't mean he can make it. Come on, man. Insight is better than eyesight. Insight is better than eyesight. Jay Chosen said, so H3O2 is still an okay option for hydration. H3, which is obviously what they typically refer to as structured water. Man, I got resources. Damn, hold on. I gotta get this book. See, y'all gonna have me pulling out all my resources and shit, cause I gotta get you right. Cells, gels, and the engines of life. Cells, gels, and the engines of life. So if you really want to know about H, because see, I'm pretty sure a lot of you know is if you fuck with me, you probably also, a lot of you guys probably fuck with Yaki Awake, and he's on some deep shit too in terms of structured water. But these are the guys who wrote about structured water. They was writing about structured water or H3O2 since the 1970s. All right, but see, there's a lot of things that go along with that. See, so when they're talking about structured water, what you're also endorsing is the idea that what we've been taught in biology about there being this bilayer on our cells made up of lipids and all of this different shit, and they have this selective, they let certain things through and let other things don't, semi-permeable bullshit. No, they're saying that bilipid, that lipid layer does not exist. According to him, in his theory, he says that it's structured water. That's where this idea came from. That your body, as we all know, considering the fact that it's 70% water, right? It just uses water in different ways. Okay? And this is one of the reasons as to why certain things can come through, because they continue to keep changing. At first they said potassium and sodium can only go through. Then they started to realize other things can go through. So they had to continue to keep changing up the science, because I told you, and I will always tell you this, there is no such thing as a Blanco science. Only natural science. So, when we talk about when we talk about, cellular composition, especially when you're talking about the membrane, this is what he challenges. He challenges that thought process. He challenges that conventional outlook where we associate that framework with the building blocks of lipids, whereas it's constructed by structured water. That's his thesis. Okay, and it also sounds, it sounds a lot more logical than what we entertain, and that's one of the reasons why the Blanco always hits you with the cartoons in his books and shit, the illustrations, because he can't show you, can't prove it, just like he ain't never seen DNA. He can't prove it. So I explain that in the book, as you all know, the untold story of the carbon baby. All right, so we go off into giving y'all a lot of that information too as well. So that's one thing that we have to understand. They're attacking you because they starting to see, one, they're aware now in these times of new beginnings where the energy centers are at. And we always know that's around water. We see our grand civilizations of the Nile. You see the Olmec civilization, where they were at. They were always around these key centers where water would transform and allow them to take on different, not only just physical characteristics, but actually interact with Mother Earth on a whole new level, being able to transport themselves from one place to the other. This is what these civilizations were able to accomplish. But you had to be able to resonate with Mother Earth in order to do that. Okay, so this is why Haiti is going through what it's going through, and this is why you see these Blancos over there doing nothing but violating human beings, rights and compromising their ability to live life at the most fundamental level. All right, and that's extremely important for us to understand. So, what I want to tell y'all, just to go off, this is not a sidebar because this is also going to be we're going to go off into this. And, if you have to get the book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And that was by Rebecca Skloot. Now, I'm going to read you just a couple. I'm going to show you how they got this shit down to a science. I'm going to show you how they got this shit down to their science and how they always come out to weaponize it. Because they know not who you are. They know exactly what you are. And that's the difference between winning and losing in this warfare, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you, that is the difference between winning and losing. Okay? So watch how we get into this. I'm finna show y'all exactly finna show y'all exactly what I'm talking about here. Now we're going to page 97 in this book, 97. And it says, now, so I want you to understand when they, put forth weapons against us, you also see, because a lot of people didn't realize Tuskegee played a huge role. Now I'm finna drop some knowledge on y'all. See, you always just associate Tuskegee with the syphilis experiments, all right? Remember Peter Buxton, he came out in he came out earlier, but it was in 1971, 1972 that they stopped conducting the experience, and then we know President Clinton apologized supposedly in 1997. Neither here nor there. Our mistrust should have been then. It just goes to show you, even then, when they convinced us that this disease was something that was real, and then they were, obviously going through the process of contaminating our blood with this very disease to see how we would survive with it. It just goes to speak volumes about their character. But neither here nor there. This is the point. It states what you have to realize is that they also participated in proliferating the cells of Henrietta Lacks. Did you know that? Now watch this. This is deep. Unit at Tuskegee. This was a cover of a New York Times article. Unit at Tuskegee helps polio fight. Corpse of Negro scientist has key role in evaluating of Dr. Salk's vaccine. HeLa cells are grown. Now check what it says. Black scientists and technicians, many of them women, use cells from a black woman to help save the lives of millions of Americans, most of them white. And they did so on the same campus and at the very same time that state officials were conducting the infamous Tuskegee syphilis studies. What? That's what I'm telling you. I keep asking you niggas. Do you not think they don't know what you are? So, because remember in the media, they say, oh, well, we just didn't know. Oh, it was just, just some nefarious people back then, and they was doing this and doing that, and we apologize for Tuskegee and all. No, they knew, because they knew our blood had life-saving properties. You think I'm playing? Listen, let's show you this woman about to drop another bombshell in this book. Let me read it to you. It's and ironically enough, the title of the chapter is called "The Healer Bomb." It's called "The Healing Bomb." It says, Gartler learned from the microphone, leaned into the microphone and told the audience that in the process of looking for new genetic markers for his research, he found that 18 of the most commonly used cell cultures had one thing in common. They all contained a rare genetic marker called glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase A, which, now wait for it, which was almost exclusively in Black Americans. And even among them, it was fairly rare. Let me read this over to you. They had a genetic marker called glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase A, which was present almost exclusively in Black Americans. And even among them, it was fairly rare. So what did we say? We said glucose, right? So what you have to understand is that glucose is the fuel or the sugar that the blood uses. This is why all these other sugars are so dangerous. I seen somebody in the chat and they were talking about how, they'll juice and do all these things. But one thing you have to understand about water, let's recap on this because you have to understand the science of water. I always get the example of like if you were to make Kool-Aid. If you make Kool-Aid and you put some, the Kool-Aid in that cup of water and then you add some sugar. One thing you notice, if you put too much sugar in there, what's going to happen? It's going to float to the bottom. So basically what you have to understand is water makes chemical bonds. It's called the universal solvent. So when water makes these bonds, then it's only free water that can break those bonds apart. That's like if you have something that's too sugary, what do? You add more water so water can make the bonds. You dilute it, if you will. So the problem being is that a lot of times when we go into juicing, there can be some therapeutic results, but ultimately what happens is that when there are chemical bonds in the water, it looks for free water to break those bonds apart. This process is called hydrolysis, or water breaking and loosening materials for metabolization. That's what it's called. All right? So what you have to understand is, like I said, I wanted to prove without a shadow of a doubt, is that you are a totally different being that resonates with Mother Earth on a totally different level. And they're totally, they understand that fully and completely. And so when you're out here and you're thinking that, I can just skate by and eventually things will get better. Because one thing you have here on YouTube is you have a lot of individuals, they do a lot of fear mongering. Right? They do a lot of fear mongering. What they do is they tell us about, politics, talking about the Democrats and the Republicans and all of this different shit and who you gonna vote for. But one thing that we have to realize as a people who are giving it's not just it presents itself as a challenge, but it's a grace that was given to us by the Most High to be the vanguards of this realm. Okay, so we know when we buy into their politics or political framework or their science, their social sciences, health sciences, and all that different stuff. Only thing we make ourselves is, is co-conspirators in their grand scheme of things. That's the only thing we make ourselves. Because even if we fully invest into this idea of capitalism, we have to understand that the only way that we live good is by virtue of our other brothers and sisters doing bad. We have to stop thinking Captain America and start thinking more Captain Planet. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say to you, brothers and sisters, is this. Fundamentally, we have to be sound. Okay? Because as carbon beings, and I've expressed this to you in the book, and I'll say it countless times, as carbon beings, what you do not get in your diet, you will find your body gravitating. It will find itself connecting to within your environment. And considering the fact that you have a form called the eumelanin species and a strong form of carbon, you will bond with things in your environment for your body to make an attempt to become whole, for your body to make an attempt to rebalance itself. That's what's extremely important for you to understand. And they know this. This is why they're throwing everything out there. They're throwing everything out there in the kitchen sink. You see what I'm saying? So we have to understand how critical this is, you know, in terms of coming to the revelation that we are, it's not about who we are, it's about what we are. And when we take that into consideration, we'll be, you know, one step closer into the liberation process, and obviously one step closer into the highest level, of attaining the highest level of illumination. Now, you know, one of the things that I also wanted to talk about, you know, in regards to that, as we were moving on to these things, you know, is because we got to hold their feet to the fire in that regard. You know, we say the Blancos speak Mayonnaise, right? We know that Blanco, you know, we know he's speaking Mayonnaise, right? And so I know I can't play. Hold on one second, y'all, because I'm trying to do a couple things at once. Let me see what this is all about. And you know, guys, I don't even know why they made that. I didn't even try to make a new channel. When I went live, they just put it on another channel. I can't make this shit up. I don't know. Listen, and I'm not even gonna hold you up. I'm not afraid to talk about my weaknesses. I'm not the most computer literate person in the world, right? But I know if unless I create a channel, you know what I'm saying? I have to do that on my own, right? I don't know how they did that. I don't know why. And see, this is just, like I said, this is YouTube. But, you know, we're going to keep going on. Hopefully, you know, a lot of you guys didn't have trouble, you know, getting to the live and shit like that. We just going to have to keep it, you know, keep it moving because this is just what they do. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't know me, if you know me, you know that one of my favorite movies is Django Unchained. Now, first, when it first came out, I was just like, man, that movie, man, is fucking ridiculous. Even before, because I didn't even watch it yet, because I heard about it was the N-word in there a million times and shit, and I was just like, I'm not gonna watch. Man, they dropped some of the deepest shit in there, and see, it just wasn't the surface shit. I think a lot of people missed it, because this is my point that I'm relating to you guys, and it shows how profound it is when it comes to how we have conditioned ourselves to give the Blanco the God complex. Because one thing that you got to realize, if we thought that the Blanco was a man, you would have been able to get rid of him a long time ago. If you thought the Blanco was just a man, you would have been able to get rid of him a long time ago. But you suffer from the God complex. And what he does through every step and every stage of his attempt to take over the world is create a science to fit that particular era to accomplish his goal. Now, you know what, this is crazy. I'm gonna go into my little, this is one of my favorites. Now, I can't play the movie because, of course, you know that they definitely gonna copyright that shit. But, you know what I'm saying? You got to go back to the scene. Remember the scene. Now, before this scene, which is the you know, later on in the movie, before the movie ends, he's at the dinner table. You know, because they have two scenes, you know, when they're eating. One is earlier, it's like a lunch, you know what I'm saying, and it's quick, you know, it's in between scenes. And Leonardo DiCaprio character Calvin D. Candy, he says, you know, I've parted ways. I've parted company with my phrenologist colleagues because I believe that there's a level above bright, a level above talented, a level above loyal that a nigga could aspire to. He said, what if one nigga pops up in 10,000? An exceptional nigga. And he said, bright boy, I believe you are that exceptional nigga. Now, what am I saying? What do we know about the science of phrenology? All right? You fast forward to that one scene, to the dinner scene. Okay? Since I don't have a skull, I just picked up my basketball. Basketball right here. And he says, and you know, Dr. Schultz says, well, who's your little friend? He says, this here is Ben. Ben was an old Joe who been around here for a long time. And I do mean a long damn time. Ben here took care of my daddy, my daddy's daddy, until he up and killed over. Old Ben took care of me. Now, growing up the son of a large plantation owner, I've been around a whole lot of black faces. I spent my whole life here, right here in Candyland, around a lot of black faces. Now, seeing them every day, day in and day out, I only had one question. Why didn't they kill us? Now, for 3 times a week, for 50 years, right there out there on that porch, old Ben would shave my daddy with a straight razor. And if I had been old Ben, I would have slit my daddy's goddamn throat, and it wouldn't have taken me no 50 years to do it neither. Why didn't he do it? Then he goes on and says, see, the science of phrenology is crucial to understanding the separation of our two species. He said the skull of the African here has the largest area associated with submissiveness than any human or any subhuman species on planet Earth. So you get where I'm going with this shit. So the fact of the matter is, what I'm saying is, they had a science back then that stated that this is how we justify your so-called enslavement. This is how we justify treating you the way that we treat you, because we understand through this science that we made up that intelligence was associated by bumps on the skull. Everywhere you look and turn with this Blanco science of this mayonnaise that this motherfucker spit has been fraudulent from the top down, bottom up, left to right, right to left. There is no such thing as Blanco science. But when you continue to embrace it, this is one of the strongholds on the so-called African psyche. You cannot relieve yourself of all of the pressures that come along with, or you can't not relieve that pressure, or you cannot open up to the highest level of enlightenment if you continue to be captivated by what we articulate as Blanco science. It's not going to happen for you. It's not going to happen. And all I see is these niggas be in a rush to talk, sit back and regurgitate what the Blanco said instead of looking at it. So then it takes me back to that book I told you with Henrietta Lacks when it talked about the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase-A, right? That was showing that the glucose, it was a specific type of sugar, plant sugar. Because remember, the most abundant source of glucose is found in plants. So this plant sugar was unique to us because we already know that we're from the plants. We're, carbon, that's what carbon is. Carbon is Latin for coal. Coal is decomposed plant material. Okay? Out of the 34 atom melanin molecule, 18 of those atoms are carbon. So we have to look at melanin or the eumelanin species as a supercharged form of carbon or plant material. So they're always studying your blood. In that segment, what we talked about was we showed you how the vast majority of the blood, 80% of it that is given, 80% of the plasma that is given goes to pharmaceutical companies. Goes to pharmaceutical companies. Only 20% of that makes its way back to the hospital because they understood from Henrietta Lacks that it's another one of you carbon beings. It's another one of you carbon babies out there with a secret. And I must know what it is. Yeah, one of you out there hiding the God gene. And I'm talking about in terms of activation. And I must find out who you are. The only way that they can delay the process first is by taking care of the water. And then also by having us participate in these rituals that we conduct on a regular basis on YouTube and other social media platforms where we are at each other's throat. So like I said, if you tired of all of the divisive rhetoric and if you tired of all of this black man against black woman and we don't help each other, look, you come to the right place. We don't deal with that here. We don't deal with who not doing what. We deal with who about to get down and dirty. Who about to get ready to make this happen. And how we're going to go about doing that. That's what we about. All right. So I want to show you, just like I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about in terms of this. Because I want you guys to see exactly. I wanted to show you exactly what I'm talking about in terms of this, just to show you what we dealing with. Just to show you what type, just to show you the mayonnaise, how it just keeps. All right, you guys got to see this article. You guys got to see this article. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. This is from The Guardian. All right. It says, fleeing the hell the U.S. helped create, why Central Americans journey north. The region's inequality and violence in which the U.S. has long played a role is. It says Jacqueline Kyle Maquin, the 7-year-old Guatemalan girl who died this month in U.S. custody, is the latest victim of a long dysfunctional relationship between the U.S. and its southern neighbors that has caused countless lives over the past half-century. The forces driving ordinary people to leave their homes and put their lives at risk crossing deserts with smugglers to get to the U.S. border are deeply rooted in Central America's history of inequality and violence in which the U.S. has long played a defining role. The flow of migrants trying to cross the border illegally is not at all blowback from U.S. foreign policy. Much of the poverty, injustice, and murder in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras is homegrown. Harking back to the age of Spanish conquest, small criminal elites have long prospered at the expense of the populations. Now, we're going to scroll down just a little bit here so we can get to the meat of this. The heck? Says, sometimes it has been a matter of unintended consequences. Enforcement measures targeting migrants have multiplied the cost of smuggler services. Desperate customers take out big loans at high interest rates in order to pay. Now it says, the destabilization in the 1980s, which was very much a part of the U.S. Cold War effort, was incredibly important in creating the kind of political and economic conditions that exist in the country today, said Christy Thornton. And then it goes on, it says, this is the meat. When communities fight back against land grabbing, their leaders can be killed. We've seen just in the past year almost 24 community leaders assassinated. There is a legacy of impunity. Guatemala's long civil war in turn can be traced back to 1954 coup against a democratically elected president, Jacobo Arbenz, who was backed by the U.S. Washington backed the Guatemalan military, which was responsible for genocide against the native population. An estimated 200,000 people were killed between 1960 and 1996. Then you do the math about how many people that was a year. Now, this is what I'm trying to get you guys to understand, is that we have to realize that when this Blanco goes about talking about, the migrant crisis and what's going on, you have to realize that he started all these things. Remember, I told you to get out of thinking more like Captain America and think more Captain Planet. He has put forth a concerted effort into destabilizing these regions. Okay, and so when they come across, everybody's like, "Oh, well, where they coming?" Of course, this is what they intended to happen. And remember how I told you how they communicate in symbols? Now, mind you, where is one of the epicenters of the migrant crisis taking place in terms of where these migrants are being shipped? Is it not in Chicago? Right? See what Chicago's going through? Now, ain't that where the Trump Plaza is? Ain't that where Trump also lived for most of his time? In Chicago? See, they love communicating symbolically. You see what I'm saying? But one thing that we have to always be aware of is that this is the destabilization of the so-called planet or so-called globe in and of itself. He is preparing for World War III. You know this Blanco love his sequels. You know the Blanco love his sequels. So basically what you have to understand, even what's going on in Israel right now. When you notice that supposedly Hamas had attacked Israel, one thing that we have to garner from that is you're looking at the Gaza Strip. I don't know how much you guys know about Israel, the Gaza Strip, and the West Bank and all of that different stuff. But we know that this stuff has been going on since the creation of the State of Israel, I believe in 1948 or something like that, right? Shortly after World War II. Now, and the thing is that, after 1967, the Israelis, they controlled the vast majority of that region. Now, the West Bank the Gaza Strip it borders the Mediterranean to the west, right? Or the Mediterranean borders it, on the west part. Then at the bottom is bordered by Egypt, and then obviously to the east and to the north is bordered by Israel. Now this is the thing: the Gaza Strip is only 25 fucking miles, 25 miles long, with a population of 2 million people. Do you understand what I just said to you? It's a 25-mile strip with a population of 2 million people. It has a land, an air, and a sea blockade. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out without Israel's permission. Once again, it has a land, it has a sea, and an air blockade. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out without the permission of Israel. We're talking even human bodies. So, what's the likelihood of me being able to do anything in that motherfucker? So you take a look at the West Bank, which includes East Jerusalem. You have it split up into like 3 territories, A, B, and C. A is supposedly ruled by the Palestinian administration. All right. And then you have B ruled by the Palestinian administration and Israel. And C, which just so happens to be 60% of the landmass, is ruled by Israel. This gives them an opportunity to pipeline their policies through and obviously act like they're the victims. All right. I'm tired, man. We're tired of this shit. Right. So now you got the U.S. sending naval ships and aircraft carriers for some people who throw rocks at tanks. What you think is really about to go down? Okay? You have to understand, man, that right now we're living in a time where it's about positioning. Okay? Positioning ley lines, positioning on energy fields for the war that's about to come. Most of these states, most of these regions are man-made. They're called proxy wars. Okay? These are new states. Most of them that haven't even come into being, didn't even become a realization to the early 20th century. We're talking about early 1900s. From Jordan, Iraq, Iran. These are modern creations. The Middle East is a creation. You have to know that. So even when we talk to you politically about China, when we told you from 1897, from 1898, let's get our dates right. From 1898 to 1997, the British controlled China. Okay? They controlled China, forced them to lease their ports because obviously you go back to the Opium Wars, right? You have to understand how they took down the Qing dynasty. Right? So when we talk about China and how powerful it is and what China is able to do, we have to realize they ain't got no power, no real power. It's nominal, which means that it's not real power to begin with. So who's pulling the strings? We know, like, even when the liberation efforts of the so-called countries in Africa, Nigeria and all of that different stuff, when a lot of those African countries had proclaimed their independence in the 1960s, it was nominal in degree. They didn't have no real power. We know who's still running that shit. And you have to think the same way about these superpowers. You have to know that they still running these, because the end game is to globalize the efforts. This Haiti experiment is one of the first markers in us understanding how quickly they are to realizing their ideal of a one world government. See, because it's not just with bricks. Bricks is all, like I said, all that's manufactured by the elite. We worrying about something and we compartmentalizing it, not understanding that it all goes toward the same road. But the bright spot, let's see. I'm gonna read some of these comments. Yeah, because they sure did, man. I don't know what they just did with that channel, man. They, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it says, yeah, and a lot of y'all already know. Hey, what up, Ahava? That's what's up. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of y'all already know, in terms of how they manufacture these states, these regions and stuff like that. North Korea, South Korea, Vietnam, all of these different things. They created these big bad boogeymen so that they have a reason to actually expand and actually proliferate the idea of the what Dwight D. Eisenhower coined as the military-industrial complex. But like we talk about, it's even bigger than that. Like we have to understand too that they're preparing for war against Mother Earth. That's exactly what this is and what it will be. And like we talked about before when we gave you all of this information and we're putting it all together, you have to understand that these regions are they're extremely sensitive regions in terms of geopolitical positioning. Extremely sensitive to that, because we know they talk about the minerals. They always try to boil things down to dollars and cents. This Blanco print that money. He don't give a fuck about that money. Stop thinking about, oh yeah, they said $20 billion and 20 million. That don't matter. When we talk about human lives and costs and we talk about the effect on Mother Nature, we have to start thinking outside the box. That's what we have to start doing. You see what I'm saying? There's wormholes and opportunity, you know what I'm saying? Energy systems all around this area. This is why these civilizations were there. Remember we talked about, like we said, those Olmec heads are made out of basalt. Basalt is volcanic rock. Okay? How would you even know what to do with something like that, right? And then not just to put them heads together, to carve. Where did you get the tools? Did any of y'all think of that shit? Where would you even get the tools? I could take modern tools right now that the Blanco got. I won't be able to carve up no damn Olmec head. You see, and so when you take a look at their experience or their ability to use magnetism, and it's a science, like I said, that they call this, it's called paleomagnetism, which is a science that geophysicists use to study the magnetic potency of rocks. Yes, that's right. So when you walk around and you thinking about that, you're interacting with inanimate objects, even with this rocks, it's alive. It has a life force, and it's called magnetism. This is. I mean, when you think about, what you are capable of becoming, once you open up to it, but in order to open up to it, I'm telling you guys, you got to resonate on a certain level. So we want to get away, because that was my thing. when I hear some people are like, oh, when you meditate and then you do this and you do that, and no, first things first. Okay? First thing you got to understand is that water first cannot even be explained. At the molecular weight of water, they don't even know why it's even a liquid. Because there are gases that are heavier than water and are still gases. That's what puzzle scientists are like. Water's so fucking light, it's still supposed to be a gas. How is it a liquid? So you talking about something that's already ethereal to begin with. But because you let the Blanco name it, you are under this illusion that you know what it is. Once again, because you let the Blanco name it, you are under the illusion that you think you know what it is. So the Most High made the vast majority of your makeup over this substance, this ethereal substance. And I tell you what, one thing you need to come up with your own dictionary. Name it what you want it to be named. That's how you transform the things around you. Just like when you rename yourself. How many of the brothers and sisters, I know y'all probably can agree with that, and y'all say this in the text and stuff. You know that when you wanted to change up your outlook, you changed your name. You was like, fuck that government name. It's not even resonating on the level where it can articulate what you are. It's the very same type of logic you have to use when you interact with the things and the beings around you. Do you hear what I'm saying, brothers and sisters? So, when we talk about this, like, even when, looking at how they communicate. Remember, Joseph Campbell, he was, lectured all over the world talking about being symbol literate. And I told you, any Blanco that sits up there and proliferates natural science, that's always going to be a fan. I'm always going to be a fan of them, right? Because there's no such thing as Blanco science. It's just, think about it. Even when we take a look at what I talked about, paleomagnetism, right? Paleomagnetism, what we said is the study of magnetism inside of rocks. It actually helped to resurface the continental drift hypothesis and the Platonic plate theory. See, one thing that you gotta understand, you keep dealing with a Blanco who has theories and hypotheses that hasn't substantiated shit, but in your school systems and in your curriculum, he teaches it like it's fact. He don't know how the earth doing what the fuck it's doing. Well, at least he won't tell you. And do you know, like we said, let's recap. This is extremely important. Do you know that theory comes from the term theo? Theo. Theo means God in Greek. So he's saying that my theory or my God-like interpretation of these events is what counts. Once again, how can you disassociate yourself from this man when you don't see him as one and you see him as a God? Even in his association with other things around him, he says his interpretation of these things is a God-like interpretation. I'm trying to get y'all. Listen what I'm saying to y'all, man. Listen what I'm saying to y'all. We about to start cooking. Listen what I'm telling y'all. Like, from here on out, like I said, we're going to conduct more lives. We're going to be doing, of course, it's a couple more things that I want to go over. Some things like even the esoteric side of it. In the next situation, the next segment, basically we're going to delve off into the esoteric side of the whole Tupac thing. Now, remember when I was telling you before, like 3 years ago, around about this time, but obviously, when you fast forward to, it was in January. Well, it was late December, but the event happened, I think in January, February. I don't remember when Kobe's death was, but I know it was in the beginning of the year, right? And before that big death, they had, they put out a tragedy, which we call the jibby jab, right? Or the plandemic, right? So we knew what came with that. So that's one thing you got to understand with this whole Tupac thing, with them resurfacing. Some people are like, oh, it's a distraction. Remember what I told you? These Blancos don't communicate literally. They communicate symbolically. First of all, they knew how much energy is surrounding the Tupac murder and death. So expect some things. There's energy centers even around South America. Because remember, Tupac was named after a revolutionary, Tupac Amaru Shakur, who led a revolution in Peru between 1780 and 1783. All right? So you have to understand that they communicate symbolically. They're not looking for you. And they like, if you don't get it, that's your fucking fault. Remember, they already knew what they was gonna do with Haiti. They put a bitch from Haiti as the press secretary. They know what they're going. They communicate symbolically. They're not looking for you to understand it literally. That's your fault if you can't.